Welcome, 8th graders. Today, we are diving into an explainer that connects two things you honestly might not think go together at all: physics and philosophy. We're going to explore exactly how invisible energy shapes the physical world around us and how that perfectly ordered system might just reflect something a whole lot deeper. Let's get into it.
So, here's a question for you. How does energy actually move through the space around us? Think about it for a second. When you shout to a friend across the room, or when the sun warms your face on a bright summer day, energy is literally traveling from one place to another. It's not magic. It's definitely not random. It actually happens through a very specific, invisible, and honestly beautifully organized mechanism.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, an introduction to wave energy. Second, measuring waves, the basics. Third, how do waves travel? Fourth, waves in real life. Fifth, divine order in physics. And finally, number 6, education with morality.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Introduction to Wave Energy.
So what is a wave? Simply put, it's a disturbance that transfers energy. Now, I know people usually hear the word wave and immediately picture water crashing on a beach. But here's the thing. The water itself isn't traveling all those miles across the ocean. The water is actually just the medium. Think of it like a crowd doing the wave at a football game. The people just stand up and sit down, right? They aren't running laps around the stadium. It's the energy that's traveling through them. So at its core, a wave is just how energy moves through space and matter.
Moving right along to Section 2, Measuring Waves, the basics.
Okay, our first key term here is amplitude. Amplitude is basically just the wave's height, and it indicates its overall energy level. Imagine drawing a line straight horizontally through the middle of a wave. The amplitude is that exact physical distance from the center line straight up to the highest peak. It's a direct indicator of power. So the taller the wave, the higher the amplitude, and, you guessed it, the more energy that wave is packing.
Next up, we've got wavelength. As the name implies, this is the physical length of the wave. It measures the distance between two wave crests, meaning from one peak directly to the very next peak. Or you can measure it between two troughs, which are the lowest dipping points. If you have a really long wavelength, those peaks are spread far, far apart. But if you have a short wavelength, those peaks are squished tightly and densely together.
And our third core measurement is frequency. This one tells us exactly how many waves pass a specific fixed point in exactly 1 second. And we measure this in a unit called hertz, which you'll usually see abbreviated as Hz. So, if 3 wave peaks zip past you in 1 second, well, that wave has a frequency of 3 hertz. To recap real quick, we've got amplitude for height, wavelength for distance, and frequency for how often they pass by.
That brings us to Section 3. How do waves travel? So there are two primary ways these waves actually get around. On one side, we have mechanical waves. These guys absolutely require a medium to travel through, like air, water, or even a solid object. Sound waves, for instance, are mechanical. That's why in the total vacuum of space, it's dead silent. But on the flip side, we have electromagnetic waves. These are super fascinating because they don't need a medium at all. They can literally travel through the completely empty vacuum of space. The light from our sun, it zips through millions of miles of absolute nothingness at a mind-blowing 186,000 miles per second to reach us, all as an electromagnetic wave.
All right, Section 4, waves in real life.
Let's actually look at how these measurements show up in your daily routine. First off, a loud sound wave has a high amplitude. Because it's taller, it hits your eardrum with more physical force, making it sound way louder. Second, sunburns. Those are actually caused by short wavelengths. Ultraviolet or UV rays from the sun have shorter wavelengths than the visible light we see, meaning they pack a much more intense energy, literally enough to burn your skin. Finally, high frequency. The microwaves sitting in your kitchen vibrate incredibly fast. That high frequency allows them to transfer enough energy to perfectly heat up your leftover pizza from the inside out.
Which brings us to Section 5, divine order in physics. There's a really interesting quote from Psalm 107, verse 29. It says, "He stilled the storm to a whisper, the waves of the sea were hushed." Now, when we look at how perfectly predictable amplitude, wavelength, and frequency really are, the source material draws a pretty striking parallel. The behavior of waves isn't just random chaos. It points to a precise control and a deep order that governs both the violent physical storms of our world and, philosophically speaking, the spiritual realms too. Okay, let's take a quick breather and test our understanding. Try to answer these in your head. What does wave amplitude actually measure? Do you remember the relationship between wavelength and frequency? What kind of wave absolutely requires a physical medium, and which one packs more energy, a long or short wavelength? Finally, how does that psalm we just read tie into the physics we're exploring? Take a moment later to really reflect on these.
And our final section today, Section 6, Education with Morality.
The source material poses a really crucial question here. Education without morality will hurt. I mean, what is the point of being smart but continuing to make bad choices? We've learned some pretty incredible things about the physics of our universe today. But honestly, having a head totally full of knowledge is kind of pointless if it isn't paired with the character to make wise, constructive choices with it. True education only becomes truly powerful when it's guided by a strong moral compass.
And this aligns perfectly with the idea found in Romans 8:6-7, which promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. Engaging your mind spiritually brings peace. It's not just about memorizing cold, hard facts for a test. It's about connecting what you learn to a higher purpose and finding real harmony in the order that surrounds us every single day.
So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. What is the ultimate point of being educated if we don't actively choose the moral path that brings peace? As you go out into the real world today, observing the energy and the invisible waves literally all around you, ask yourself how you are applying your own knowledge. Keep learning, keep questioning, and keep reflecting. I'll catch you in the next explainer.